down, saw our brother.
Welcome to TORAH Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with episode number 18 or 19 of TNT, the Twisted New Testament Exposed, with Rabbi Stuart Federow, author of the book Judaism and Christianity, a contrast, a book every person should have sitting on their shelf with zero dust attached. Rabbi, thank you for joining us again. It's always good to see you.
And believe me, it's my pleasure.
All right, that's good. It's been a good, nice break for both of us. You've been very busy. We've all had a really excellently busy schedule with the holy days, and boy, were they really truly a blessing this year. I mean, they're always a blessing, but it's nice to grow and to learn.
But I hope they were meaningful.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Wow, man, it's so good to have you back, Rabbi. So I know, usually when I ask a rabbi, how was your holy days, they say the same exact thing. Very, very busy.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So anyway, wow, so good to be back. Good to be back. I've got the phone lines open here in just a moment. Let's see, you got 7 watching right now, so that's good.
Okay, YouTube, TORAH Talk. And when is it supposed to pop up?
It's already up. I'm actually on the channel right now, and it's already rolling live right now. So you have to click on that YouTube channel link though. You can't just in fact you have to open up the entire TORAH Talk YouTube page, and the very top,
right. I am.
Okay, the very top video should say live.
Nope.
In red, then refresh your screen.
I did.
I'm watching it right now. I'm actually watching the video as we speak right now on the YouTube channel. So, okay, cool. So let me get back over here to open up the phone lines right here. Give me 1 second. Bada boom, bada bing.
Yes.
Phone lines are open. Did you get it to play?
Now I got it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, nice, good deal. Super duper. Okay, let me turn all this stuff volume down so I can get the phone lines up. So for one of those 7 viewers, 855-952-4253, call in, give us a good sound test on the telephone, and just to say hi. I'd love to hear from you. And if you got any...
Jacob, it's good to be back.
Yes. Very, very cool. Welcome back.
And Carissa, we are alive.
We are live and alive. Yes, indeed.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. Wow. All right. So if you guys notice me looking like up, it's because one of my monitors went out and I had to reposition everything. And so now I've got all my software on a completely different screen and it's got my eyes all over the place. So anyway, so you'll have to kind of get over that for now. So one of these technical issues that we're pushing through with right now. Right now I'm looking pretty much straight at the monitor, looking at Rabbi Federow's handsome face, which I positioned his picture right about 2 inches above the actual camera lens. So when I'm looking at him, it's going to look like I'm looking at you. So that's good. Oh my gosh. Wow. We have covered so much territory over the past weeks. And one thing that I keep hearing about all the time, and of course it's the best time to discuss it. We do discuss it frequently, but this is definitely the season to discuss all of these things, is Jesus, Yeshua, so to speak, is in all of the holy days, foretelling of, and so I've heard some really good ones, ones that were pretty much believable unless you studied the
William, the there's one other thing that gets me too. People will talk about this season, okay, and they'll talk about the feasts of Israel, the feasts,
right?
What is for the fall feasts? I don't think I have ever referred to this season as a collection of feasts.
Interesting point. Yeah.
It's like the hallmark of, frankly, Christianity to call them feasts, the feasts of Israel.
Interesting.
And leads to the Christian books about Jesus in the feasts of Israel. And I swear to God, I've never, ever called them the feasts of Israel.
Interesting. Yeah, the feast season. I've heard that more than once. That's
You
for
know,
sure.
the Chag,
Yeah.
the holidays, the holy days,
Right.
but not the feasts.
Yeah.
Somehow, Yom Kippur being like the main one of the whole month, when we fast, calling it a feast, it's just very weird to me.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
Yep.
Well, it is what it is. So, okay, so we have some rebellious viewers out there. They're refusing to call. Shame on
Power
all of you.
to the people. Let's rebel. No, just kidding.
Really would appreciate a test call just for grins, just so we can make sure we got all the volumes right. You could call in and say hi. So, anyway, I've had some requests, just off the wall requests, which are really good ones. It'd be nice if we could actually do like
I'm off the wall too. So,
yeah, exactly. You and me both. Boy, I'm further than just off the wall, I think, sometimes. And it'd be kind of neat if we could figure out a way to set up a conference like meeting with get all the timing just right with all of the speakers that come on the TORAH Talk to show up in one weekend and just have a big powwow of teachings on the Torah and just.
I think that would be fun.
That would be a lot of fun. A good friend of mine, Mordecai Mintz, dear brother, he pushed the idea with me several months ago, and I'd been thinking about it before, but I just never really.
Well, I'm not that far away, but coming
Yeah.
from Australia and Israel, I think it'll be a little difficult for them.
Yeah, that's true. They'd probably show up about 12 hours late, more than. Oh boy. Okay. Good deal. We are signed in. That's good. Okay, I'm going to flip the pages here. There is a very interesting. One thing I definitely want to talk about, and we've never really addressed directly, at least I don't think we have on the show, is I think it's Psalm 22 says where it says Ka'ari, as a lion, well, as we would read it as a lion, but it says that he was he's pierced in his hands and his feet, right?
Right.
We'll get to that in just a minute. Welcome to the show. Thank you for calling in. Who do we have on the phone?
Oh, hi. This is Carissa. How are you?
Hi, Carissa. I guess
Hi, Carissa.
you're not as rebellious as I thought.
No, not too bad.
That's funny.
That's so strange because there's this time lapse. I was like, well, I guess he's not hearing his phone. I was going to say, I think there's a problem.
Oh, you know what? People don't know this, but when you call in, you just experienced it. When you call in, it'll ring, and then it goes to a voicemail message that kind of tells you what to expect. It'll tell you may be on hold for 15 minutes up to 2 days. Okay, forget the 2 days, but that sort of thing, depending on the link. So there's like a double layer message thing you got to go through before it actually answers, and that's probably what you just experienced. So thank you for hanging in there.
I did.
So Carissa,
You're welcome. It was very educational.
Oh, great. Did you have a question, or did you just call to say hi?
Well, I called because you requested a test call, but
Thank you.
also the rabbi did mention about the feast thing, and so I just quickly looked at my e-sword, and I see that in Deuteronomy 16, it's just the English translation. It's like that's how it categorizes it. It's like feast.
Yes, I know, but it's translating it from the word Chag. Okay, but in English, Jews don't go around saying, "So, what are you doing for the feasts this year? What are you going to serve for the feast this year?" It's just it's not it's not part of the normal vocabulary.
So what is
Chag, the
so
holy days?
Is
the
Chag
holidays.
is Chag just festival then?
Yes.
Festival, not feasts.
Yes.
So
Festival.
okay.
Like the way we use holiday.
Okay.
In English, it's Chag Sukkot, the holiday of Sukkot.
Right. I mean, I can see there being a major problem with like the feast of Yom Kippur. I get that.
Yeah, that's exactly that's what I mean.
Right. That's funny.
All right, great. Well, that's very, very interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
for your
Carissa.
time. Look forward to listening.
Hey, thanks for
Our
tuning
pleasure.
in.
Thanks for listening.
And thanks for texting in on the YouTube chat as well. That's very cool to see all y'all's activity there. Thank you. All right. Very
You're
cool.
welcome. All right. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so let's see. I forgot what I mentioned. It was about. It's been a long day. What was I?
Yeah, tell me about it.
Okay.
Yes, I had the dental appointment. I'm all pretty now.
Kari, was that Psalm
22.
22? It's interesting, just the whole concept of it. I saw a video. I wished I could play it right now, like during the show. I wonder if I can. I bet I can. Let me try that. It's just a funny clip I saw on TV where this lady had walked in. She was she looked like Phoebe off of Friends. I don't know, long blonde hair girl. Went into like a Sprint dealership or a cell phone place, and she said, "I read in my horoscope that it told me that I had to come buy a phone today." And she goes, "Really? It told you to come buy a phone?" She goes, "Yes." She said, "It said your day will be filled with adventure." And she kind of like, and the other lady's like, oh
that
yeah
commercial.
yeah, I could see there's really only one way to interpret that. you
Right.
know? And it's like it's very interesting because the whole idea of the Christian interpretation of all of Tanakh is that they're right, everyone else is wrong, and they
Right.
can't believe
And it's
that we're so stupid that we can't get it.
And the Hebrew Scriptures has only one interpretation, and that's theirs.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Even when their interpretation contradicts clear, simple, literal meaning of other verses in the Tanakh.
Right. That's true. And I had another video I posted. We got a call, but I'll take it here in just a second. Another video I posted of another show that we've seen from time to time. The Big Bang. It's got what's her name, the Jewish girl who was one of the main characters on there. She's on Facebook a lot, really big, really popular. Blossom from the old days. Anyway, they had if you don't know the scene, basically all of the people in the show are like these massive scientists and like rocket scientists, a really brilliant scientist, right? So this girl across the hall comes over with her date, who's like this football player, right? And he brings over this, one of the guys is holding a magazine that's got like neurons and electrons and stuff on it. And the football player they open the door, and the football player and the girl, he says, "Oh, cool, it's a great article." He goes, all about planets this month, huh? He goes, "Those are neurons." He goes, "Yeah, whatever, dude." And he was telling the scientists what they were seeing was wrong, and they know exactly what they were seeing, and he misinterpreted what he was seeing. It was really, really crazy. But there's so many truths attached to that whole approach with how Christianity shuns anybody who suggests anything different than what they try to teach. It's really interesting. Hello, welcome to the show. Sorry, I just cut Rabbi off. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hello.
Hi.
This is Kelsey from Mark, and I'm from Mingo Junction, Ohio.
Oh, hi, Kelsey. How are you?
Okay. My thing is with the book of Revelation.
Uh-huh.
I pretty much chalk it up to be nothing but a fear-mongering bunch of hooey.
Okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
Or maybe a what do you call it when somebody tries to copy someone else's, a plagiarism of like Daniel or something, right?
Daniel, Ezekiel, and I think a little bit of one more, and I can't remember offhand. But go ahead, yes.
Wow. So did you have some more thoughts about Revelation, Kelsey?
Just basically overall, I know a lot of people liken it to Daniel, but Daniel's not nearly as scary.
Right. Oh, yeah, it's like a scare tactic, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it always hangs over you, and it's like, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen to you. And
yeah.
It's like,
Right.
See, the other thing about Revelation
with it.
Is that the wording of it is so weird. I mean, it's such flowery language, and the beasts will come from, that it is so open to 100 million different interpretations of exactly the same verse. That's why if you go to a Baptist bookstore or a Christian bookstore, you'll see a whole wall covered with books. Each book is all about the right interpretation of the book of Revelation. And not any one book agrees with any of the other 100,000 books on the same topic.
Wow.
And then they're all being revised.
Oh,
of course. Right.
Right.
When they say it's going to happen tomorrow and it doesn't happen tomorrow, then they have to revise it for next week.
Okay, that was basically it.
That's fine. So, Kelsey, tell us, were you a Christian at some point?
Yes, I was.
Gotcha.
yeah,
You know, it's
kind
really
of forced into it.
really like as a child, or kind of in a marriage situation, or
As a child,
gotcha.
my older sister was very convincing,
Right.
again, with the threats.
Oh yeah, it's got to be it's always based on emotion. I mean, I would honestly say every out of everybody I know, and I've known several thousand Christians because I went to several mega churches and met lots and lots of people, and it's every time it's about emotion. It's either about emotional passion, like I love Jesus, and I'm not mocking you. I'm just telling you I was there. I get it. Or it was about fear, like, oh no, I got my fire insurance. But it's still emotion. It's all about emotion, not about intellect. You know, and it's like that's their number one tool, I believe. Is, would you agree, Rabbi? The triggering the emotions of people, finding their soft spots, and you know, trying to capitalize on that.
Not only do I agree with that, if you really want to see it in depth, right, laid out in front of you as clear as a bell, read the autobiographies of people who have converted to Christianity and compare them with people who've converted to Judaism.
Oh yes, right. That's a really excellent idea.
Invariably, when they talk about their conversion experience to Christianity, there was something wrong. Emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, there was something wrong. Addictions, abusive relationships, and the emotional tie to Jesus is that Jesus took it away. Whatever the problem was, whatever the difficulty was, whatever the mental or emotional problem was, the belief or the following of Jesus took it away. So there's a very, very emotional attachment to Jesus. But if you take a look at the exact same equivalent of autobiographies written by people who converted to Judaism, it's this: they had questions, which, remember, questions are usually intellectually based, and they found the answer to their questions in Judaism, that it satisfied an intellectual need. And it's just such a stark contrast between almost every single autobiography I've ever read about the conversion experience to Christianity with the same experience of conversion to Judaism. One is extremely emotionally based, all about just the emotional aspects of it, and the other one, the conversion to Judaism, is very intellectually based. They had trouble with their beliefs. They had questions about it. They asked their ministers. They asked their people they knew. And besides usually being accused of being getting in bed with Satan, with the devil, because they wouldn't have these questions, and getting kicked out of their churches, and then they eventually make it to a synagogue and start getting real answers to their real questions.
Right.
Almost invariably.
Wow. Kelsey, with your sister, was your mom and dad, were they Christian, or was it just your sister who kind of branched off and became a Christian?
Mostly my mom and my grandparents, because at the time my biological father kind of was gone, and my mom remarried, and it was adjusting times and all that, and it was at a church camp.
So you were what,
mostly.
like a teenager, 12, 13?
I was 9.
9. Oh,
wow.
that's you know what? That's
Yeah.
how old I was when I quote unquote gave my heart to Jesus, if you will. 9 years old. Calvary Baptist Church, Durant, Oklahoma, 1979. I remember it like it was yesterday. It's
And
really strange.
then, believe it or not, my life from there went downhill.
You know,
I started getting bullied, big time.
and how is your life now once you have put the New Testament behind you?
I'm doing a little bit better because I found a Jewish station on my satellite provider. The Central Synagogue, it's out of New York. It's over.
Oh, sure.
They have their Shabbat services or any holiday service live. And since
By the way, I don't have it at my fingertips, but there's actually a website that lists synagogues all over the country, and I believe also in Canada, that live stream their services. So one web page that has a list.
That's
Thought you'd like to know about it.
That's actually a good resource to have. So, Kelsey, how long have you been? How long has it been since you left the New Testament behind?
I'm going to say a good 2 years now.
What was your tipping point? What was it? A holiday? Was it one of the holy days, or was it just you just kind of got there?
Well, I have been. I'll confess that I use the Messianic type folk in church as a stepping stone. It was an easy out of the
same
Methodist church.
Oh, we did this. My wife and I did the same thing. Yeah, so understandably.
It was an easy out.
Right.
Because even at that point, I was still searching, and I've always had a heart for Israel and the Jewish people. Because I remember getting into an argument with my Sunday school teacher when I was 5 years old. The curriculum had the place as Palestine for Jesus' birth during that time. And it's like, I thought we were in Israel. Got into an argument over at age 5.
Well, let me ask you another question. What triggered your, like, wait a minute, something's not right? What was the first thing or the final thing that just drove the final nail? And I use this phrase all the time, to put the final nail in the cross for you in Jesus' coffin. So what was it for you?
Actually, going through the list of why Jews don't accept Jesus as their Messiah, and
Nice. That's good. Have you read Rabbi Federow's book, just out of curiosity?
I have not read his book, but I do have his app.
Oh, the app is awesome, isn't it?
It's on my tablet.
That's cool. I just
put
the book back up on the screen again for anybody who's watching who doesn't know about Rabbi's book. This book is just wonderful, and oh my gosh, Kelsey, if you haven't read this book is good for you to have on your hand because it's this easy read. It's not very thick, and it's a very compact.
I do have Tovia Singer's both volumes. So.
Yeah, I have a hard time fitting his volumes in my back pocket is the only issue. It's like 2 encyclopedias. Good stuff. This is
like school books.
Yes, exactly. So this book here is a really great book. I actually, well, thanks to Rabbi Federow, I have like 20 copies, but I would have had a single copy if he hadn't given me some. So, but this book it's a different format than Rabbi Singer's in that it's a highly concentrated small stick of dynamite, which kind of was part of the reason why I thought about TNT for the show's name. So it's if you haven't got it, you can actually download it. Rabbi, she can download that for her Kindle, right?
Yes, it's Kindle, it's Nook, it's ebook, it's hardbound, it's soft cover. Every way and shape and form you can get it.
That's really cool. Tell us what you like about the app, because I've got the app too, and it's neat just to be able to tap and just like 2 or 3 clicks away, and you've just got this wealth of information. I'm pretty excited about it. How long have you had the app, and how often do you use it?
I mostly use it like if my husband is watching one of the Jewish channels with me. I get JBS and JLTV.
Okay.
And whenever there's something on there, mostly the JBS, because there's actual rabbis teaching Torah on it, which is nice.
Go
ahead, Rabbi.
Well, I'm sorry. I was just about to say that I have contacted JLTV telling them that, at least on my television, screen that gives you the list of all the TV stations or networks or whatever they're called, that it'll have JLTV, and then above it and below it are Messianic stations or networks or whatever they're called for cable TV. And I've told them that at least twice I've called them up or emailed them or whatever and said, you need to have a show devoted to responding to the efforts of Christian missionaries, which they've summarily ignored.
Oh, wow. Ashley Lark.
However, JBS, I think has tried to do that.
And what'd you say, JVS?
JBS, Jewish Broadcasting something. It's the
JBS. I don't get that on mine. That's too bad.
Kelsey, Kelsey, one of the viewers.
It used to be Shalom
Can't hear me very
TV.
good. Oh, I know. Yeah, Shalom TV. Right.
That's what it was formerly known as.
Oh, it's not Shalom TV anymore. Interesting.
No.
Ah. That explains why I haven't seen that on the satellite thing anymore. Kelsey, there is a viewer on the YouTube channel that sent him a text that says, Ashley Lark. It says, who's speaking on the phone? Her story sounds very much like mine. So when we hang up, you'll have to send her a message. I might have to connect somehow. That'd be kind of cool. So your story does sound like so many of ours. Even like I said, with my wife and I, who left Christianity and moved into the Messianic movement, mainly because my dad is like a Messianic rabbi, but then we left there.
I was only there briefly.
Gotcha. Smart girl. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a pleasure talking with you, Kelsey. Thanks for calling in, and we'll look for you again sometime.
By the way, before you go, I did find a website listing synagogues that broadcast over the internet. It's called JewsOnTheWeb.com. JewsOnTheWeb.com. And by the way, your Central Synagogue is #1 on the list.
It's a reform, but hey, the one that was actually in Steubenville was reformed, but it dissolved, unfortunately. And
that's too bad.
More to go.
Okay.
Hopefully other congregations, more traditional, will get figure out a way to be online.
Well, for all the other viewers out there, Kelsey, that are like you, and it was like me several years ago, a really great resource that really bailed me out was Chabad.org. For well over 3 years, I would go on there every single week. Usually on Sunday afternoon, I would go to there using my phone, Chabad.org, and I would go and to their Torah Parshot, and they had probably 15, anywhere between 12 and 18 to 20 different teachers on there, like Rabbi Yehoshua Gordon, who just passed, but anyway, and a lot of others that were just amazing teachers. And they would have, like for Parshat Noach, like right now, you can go to there right now and go to the Torah Parsha, and you'll find 18, 20, 25 different lectures just on that one Torah Parsha. And for like 2 or 3 years, I would download every single thing. You actually had a 20 podcast limit per per download, so I was like maxing them out every single week.
I have Chabad's daily study app on my tablet too.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
And I have J-App, I have Aish.
Good.
And I have a Jewish Hits, which is it's the music.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Okay, Kelsey. Well, thank you for calling in. I really enjoyed visiting with you. And so be sure to tune in each week and subscribe to the website if you want to keep up on things, okay?
Oh, I have.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Nice talking with you.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
very good.
You too.
Oh, that's awesome. Man. Stepping stone. That's so true, because this is how my wife would explain it, because she said for her, my wife being raised Catholic, and I don't mean she never went to church. I mean that, like a lot of Catholics say, yeah, I'm Catholic, but really they never set foot in the church. Their parents are Catholic, right? Not my wife. She was a diehard. From as young as she could remember, she was in Catholic school all the way up through high school, Catholic school. She never missed Mass. She never missed a Sunday service. Even after she got out of high school, she remained faithful to the Catholic Church. She would never miss anything. And then, so she said if it wasn't for, Messianic Judaism, she doesn't know that she would have left Christianity altogether and just jumped from Catholic to heading towards Judaism. So for a lot of people, I get that it's a stepping stone, and that's great if it is.
William, because you did mention it, and we've got someone on the comments on the YouTube channel asking what the name of the app is. My app is called Jewish Mission Control.
Let me see if I can keep talking about it. In fact, explain to them what it's about while I look up the website. I'll see if I can put that up.
All right. Well, if you go to whatjewsbelieve.org, which is my main website, and you can click there, and it should take you to the right place. It's on iPhone and as an app, and it's also on Android as an app. And it's basically the app version of the information that's on the website. And it's basically a counter-missionary website. Thank you. And if you scroll down on the website,
I've got to pull it up on a different page. That was actually
okay. All right. Well, if you go onto the lower part of the whatjewsbelieve.org website, you'll see places to click to that should take you directly to the Android Play Store or to the iPhone, whatever it's called, where they download games and other apps from.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So it's Jewish Mission Control.
Okay, and you've got that in various translations as well. Even I think.
Well, the whatjewsbelieve.org is in Spanish at creenciajudia.org, but it's a translation of an older version of what was on the whatjewsbelieve.org website. So there's more information on whatjewsbelieve.org now than there was, or that you'll find on the creenciajudia.org website.
Gotcha. Screen capture. Let me see if I can figure this out. Web stream. I can't figure this thing out. That's something I haven't really toyed around with much, is trying to import web pages. And I know I could do it one way, but last time I did it, it actually crashed the system, so I'll probably leave it alone. So we'll just. It's easy to find, though. I mean, like I said, you can just Google and just jumble it all together. What Jews believe, and it'll show up on your web browser. So.
Just doing a quick. For some reason, the Android website isn't working when you go directly from the whatjewsbelieve.org webpage for the Android version, but the iPhone version takes you right to the itunes.apple.com website for the app.
Cool.
So I'll have to get my webmaster to correct the Jewish Mission Control for the Android. So
awesome. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
I'm still looking for. There was a question I had on here, and I don't remember where I put it. What do you know about?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, actually, I'd rather you pick up.
I was just going to say that while you were looking, I was going to say hi, Don. Yes, I missed being here the last few weeks very, very much. So
right.
Let's see, and I think that's. And you're welcome. Those who asked about the app name.
Oh yeah, very good. I'm gonna actually open this up so I can.
I think I just caught up on all the comments.
That's good. A lot of people don't really have access to calling in, so
right.
It's nice that they can actually do this here. Yeah, I'm sure Chabad.org does it. Rocks, man. It's pretty cool. Hi, Miss April. How are you? What is the name of the app for everyone? We got that covered. And by the way, all you viewers out there, leaving Christianity and finding the truth in Torah Judaism on the YouTube chat is
that is a great Facebook page too.
Great
leaving
Facebook
Christianity
group
and finding the truth in
to
Torah
be a
Judaism.
Part of, but also she is my YouTube moderator. So if you have any questions or if you have a pressing question, you can address her if I'm not seeing it. And then she can either shoot me a text on my cell phone or shoot me a question or even call me during the show on my phone and actually be able to push your question through. So if not ignoring you, but a lot of times I can't actually monitor the YouTube because there's just too many buttons to push and too much stuff going on here. So every once in a while I can though. So Justin Gold says it came from the Catholicism and if we went back through adult education, they covered a lot of the young churches, and that is when it really got a lot of questions. It's really interesting because Christianity tends to push mainstream Christianity really rejects Catholicism, but they don't really get it that they're from Catholicism. I mean, Catholics, that's the mother church of all the churches. Is that correct?
Well, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I was looking up something for Jacob. Go ahead.
The mainstream Christianity really rejects Catholicism. They,
right.
They say they're lost, whatever the case may be. But what they've got came from them. You know, what
By and large, yes.
what the church,
almost every single Protestant church came because they were protesting. That's where the Protestant comes from. They were protesting the Catholic Church, at least in the West. So, for example, you've got Martin Luther was a Roman Catholic priest who got fed up with certain things and rebelled against Rome, against Roman authority. And you got the Church of England, Henry VIII, wanting to marry or actually receive a divorce that the Pope wouldn't give him, so he cut off from the Catholic Church. And then you have other churches that come from or broke off from the Anglican Church, the Church of England, when it broke off from Catholicism. So ultimately, yes, they came from Catholicism. But William, you have to remember something. A group that breaks off from another group has to rationalize and justify breaking off. So when Christianity, in its earliest days, in my opinion, broke off from Judaism, it had to rationalize and justify splitting off from Judaism. And so that's why you have in the New Testament such anti-Judaism, in the narrative. When the Protestants broke off from Catholicism, they had to rationalize and justify breaking off from Catholicism, so their writings tend to be very, very rabidly anti-Catholic.
Interesting.
You get that phenomenon in almost every group that broke off from another group.
Okay, a question. How many authors theoretically are there in the New Testament? I know Paul is like the major one, and you've got the Gospels who we don't know who wrote them.
Christian scholars don't agree that Paul wrote everything that apparently came from Paul.
Right, gotcha.
So I'm not even sure how to answer that.
Why do you think that the way Christianity is turned puts such a heavy emphasis on a virgin birth, but Paul never got the memo? Why is that?
Okay. Remember that old saying, you better choose your theology carefully because it'll back you into a corner you'll never get out of.
Okay.
So if you hold to the idea that and we're adults here, act of sex is the means through which original sin is purveyed to the next generation, then you have to have a Jesus who came into existence without that original sin coming to him from the act of sex. So that's one thing. That's one major reason why they have to have the virgin birth.
Right, but why did Paul never know about the virgin birth, or he never talks about it?
Well, again, you have to look at history. Paul precedes the Gospels.
Oh, yeah, because he was the first writings. Right.
Exactly. So if the Gospels came later, the Gospels were being written.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Okay.
Exactly. The Gospels were being written not only to tell their theology and to tell what they see as the story of their Jesus, but it's also to write stories about Jesus to answer, in the days of the authors of the New Testament, objections that they were hearing.
Interesting.
Okay, so for example, you've got Paul talking about this Jesus being the Messiah and going to save everybody from their sins and everything else. Well, the first question that they would be asked would be, who is he? Where did he come from? So Mark is going to fill in that, because Mark was the first gospel to be written. Mark is going to fill in the blanks on the life of Jesus. He's going to talk about, what became called the heresy of adoptionism, that Jesus is out walking along, and all of a sudden, a dove lands on his head, and and the voice from heaven says, "You are my son," as if he's picking him at random. "You are my son, and with you I am well pleased." And that gave rise to a heresy of the earliest church called adoptionism, that Jesus was not born a son of God, but rather was adopted by God as his son. Hence the term, you are my son, like he's choosing him. Okay. Well, the next step is well, wait a minute, if he wasn't chosen, and he's supposed to be the son of God, literally, how do we know this? So Matthew, the next gospel, writes a story answering that question by creating a story about the birth of Jesus. And remember, most religious leaders had miracle birth stories.
Right. Like mystical figures even had.
Absolutely. So here's Jesus's. So first, you have to answer the question, which Paul would have already had as a concept out there, of original sin and the idea of one way or the other, how sex pervades the sinfulness to the next generation. And so you have to have a story about the birth of Jesus that is sexless.
Right.
Okay. And therefore it gives rise to the virgin birth. Also, that's one reason. But also another reason is that by this time, in my never to be humble opinion, you already have a break between Christianity in its earliest form and Jews and Judaism. Okay, so who is left to appeal to by the earliest Christian church? And that's the pagans. So you're going to write a story about your Jesus that will sound familiar enough to the pagan mentality that they'll say, oh, I recognize that story. That's just like the gods I already heard of.
Right.
And so, like you have the most famous, as early as 150 and 250 in Justin Martyr's dialogue with Trypho and with Origen's Contra Celsum, where they're inventing a dialogue with someone, where the someone is giving objections to Jesus, and then their hero is responding to those objections. It's almost, in some ways, it was like an early catechism. You would read this story about this guy Celsum, who was objecting to the story of Jesus, and then you would read Origen's response, and you would memorize or learn those responses when a real person came up to you after having read this with the same objection. It would be a way of teaching. So Celsum in Origen and Trypho in Justin Martyr, each one of their objections, which means it had to have been a popular objection by the Jews at that time, would have been, your story about Jesus sounds exactly like Perseus. Danae was the human mother. Zeus was the godfather. The way that Zeus made Danae pregnant was without the act of sex, so it's a virgin birth. He showered her with gold, and that made her pregnant. Okay, so that's like a virgin birth because sex was not involved. So you had, and that's only one example of many, where you had a miracle story for the birth of their half God, half human, and Matthew reflects exactly that same thing in his narrative. So there's a lot of reasons why you have a virgin birth story. By the way, in Roman Catholicism, you also had something else develop, and that is perhaps the sinful nature, the taint of sin would have touched Jesus, not through Jesus's father, but through Jesus's mother, who was born and conceived the normal human way through the act of sex. So in Roman Catholicism, you had developed a concept which became dogma, which became, a belief of the church, that the conception of Mary by Mary's mother was without sin. Hence, it was called the Immaculate Conception. Because they also had to make Mary no longer able to give sinfulness to Jesus, because she herself was conceived of through the act of sex. So the church called it an immaculate conception, a conception through the act of sex, but one that was immaculate, meaning without taint, without problem. And a lot of people confuse the concept of virgin birth with the immaculate conception. They are not the same thing.
Yeah, I actually thought they were the same thing myself.
They're not.
Okay, so with the whole idea of again, we've discussed this periodically, but sometimes we hit it from different angles. human sacrifice, it's forbidden. Torah says, do not worship me the same way these other cultures and other nations worship their gods. And what do? They offer their children as sacrifices. So if God says, don't worship me the way these other people do, why would God do the very thing that the other cultures do? Doesn't make any sense. So in Torah, where it talks about the lamb for the sacrifice for sin, it mentions the female lamb.
Right.
In regards to that. Now, male lamb regarding Passover, but keep in mind, Passover had nothing to do with sin.
Right.
So,
and was chosen because it was a pagan god.
So you have a pagan female god. Wow, they got that really, really out
messed
there.
up. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so if they're going to have Jesus be the Passover lamb, they are saying Jesus is this idolatrous idol,
Female idol.
female idol.
Right. So they're calling. Never mind. I won't go there. Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
I will tell you this. It's been. I mentioned this a couple episodes ago. I generally, for the most part, am very timid when approaching Christianity because I came from there. I've got a lot of friends who are Christian and stuff. But I will be honest with you. The more and more I study, and the further and further away my studies push me away from Christianity, the more ridiculous. Again, trying to say that respectfully, the more ridiculous the whole idea of Christianity is, it's starting to get a little difficult to hold my tongue as it,
I know that feeling.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not because I'm trying to be rude. It's just because it's just becoming so obvious. I mean, again, it'd be like somebody come up to me, ask me, "Are you sure you're not gay?" I'm like, really? You're going to ask me that question, whatever case may be. Maybe I was wearing a pink shirt, right? And I'm like, no, I'm so beyond confident in knowledge and absoluteness that it's like you can chuckle at that sort of thing. And so in a way, it's kind of how it has become for me in leaving and studying through this thing. And the thing is, a lot of people think, well, you're being blinded by the Jews because you're listening to their teachings. And I'm like, you know what? I'm studying on my own. And I challenge anybody, and I know you would too, bring something new to the table. I am all ears. If you can show me something brand new that I've never heard before, if I've heard it before, why do I want to sit and listen to it again? I already know what 2 + 2 is. I don't need you to keep trying to
Wait a minute.
teach.
They could say the same thing about this show.
So the point is, if you want to bring me something new, I'm totally open to it. I'm not closed-minded, but the people who call us closed-minded, Rabbi, are ones who refuse to hear what we have to say.
Of course.
So go figure that one out. So yeah, I'm absolutely wide open for. I mean, I love. In fact, I love listening to other people's stories about their life and their religion. Like talking to somebody. I just
I've
thought
always been fascinated by
I just thought of
even as a
something-
really young kid.
Yeah, I thought of something very funny that happened. It was more humiliating than it was funny. I have a good friend of mine who his name is Brandon Goodwin, and I love the guy to this day. We're friends. Anyway, he found out I moved back to town, and we used to do a little bit of music together, and we kind of hung out like after high school and stuff a little bit. And anyway, he found out I was back in town, and he wanted me to come to his wedding and to be in his wedding. And I was honored. I was like, yeah, sure. And I was this diehard Christian, And so here we are. We're driving in his car, and we're headed to this tuxedo place. And, of course, I'm highly compelled to witness to this guy who's been my friend forever. So I start talking about, religion, with the whole Jesus thing. And I said, the bottom line is, I said, as long as you're not like, Mormon or Jehovah's Witnesses, you're pretty much cool. And he turned to me while he's driving, and he looks at me. He does this dead look stare while he's driving in a moving car going about 45 miles an hour. He goes, I'm Mormon, right? I thought he was joking. He was not joking. He was dead serious. Oh my gosh. I probably turned white. But he goes, don't worry. He goes, I'm not really practicing. He said, but my mom and family, they're all Mormon. And I was like, oh my gosh.
So watch what you say.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So anyway, wow. It's been crazy. So what do you think, Rabbi?
I think that was a open mouth insert foot experience.
Yeah, it took me a little while to get that one out. Fortunately, he's just such a great guy. He's such a good heart and very, very, very open He's actually in fact, he's very open-minded. Probably more open-minded than any Christian I've ever met, because we actually talked about other ideas too, and he was like, maybe so, I don't know. So, again, I tell everybody, if you really want to claim to be open-minded, then that means you have to listen to someone else's story from that person, not from your best friend. Listen to the story from the person who's telling it, not the one who heard it. So, and that's how we do things. That's how you make the decisions. I mean, otherwise you're not making decisions based on truth. You're making decisions based on, someone's fabrication of the truth or their twisted story. So, it's really a lot like in the courtroom. It's if the judge only had one attorney in there, and there was and it was a prosecuting attorney, and there was no defending attorney for the defendant. I mean, it's going to be a slam dunk every time, because the prosecuting attorney is going to tell you the only thing he wants you to know. But you put the defending attorney up there, they're going to bring actual case evidence to you that's going to give you a better opportunity to make a valid choice. So keep that, take it to the bank. So
yeah,
awesome. Well, I tell you what. Let's see, what do we have on the chats here?
Well, Jacob has a question about
John
the baptized Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Why didn't John the Baptist?
And I have been reading the passage he refers to, Luke chapter 3, verse 21.
Okay.
He says, I have a question. I was always told John baptized Jesus, but Luke chapter 3, verse 21 says that John was in prison when he was baptized. Question is why the baptism is even important. Okay, there's a number of questions here, and I'm not reading this the way Jacob does. Okay, earlier in the story you have Jesus being baptized, and by the time you get to Luke chapter 3, the way I read this at least is that there was a whole bunch of other people who were being baptized, and at that time John the Baptist was already in prison. But it doesn't necessarily mean, the way I read it, that when Jesus was baptized, John was in prison. It's a different time period as I read this. Okay, William, feel free to jump in here and correct me.
Actually, I
this
don't.
Is just the way I'm sorry?
Tell me what chapter and verse you're in.
It's Luke chapter 3, verse 21.
Okay, let me see. Let me pull that up real fast.
Okay. I was always told that John baptized Jesus, but Luke chapter 3, verse 21 says that John was imprisoned when he was baptized. That's not how I read that.
Okay, now
verse 8.
Let me do the complete Jewish Bible, because that's what a lot of people will tend to lean to. See, verse 21, while all the people were being immersed, Yeshua too was immersed. So all the people, as he was...
Jesus also had been baptized... Okay, no, wait a minute. All right. As he
was praying,
the heavens were opened, and the Holy Spirit descended upon him in bodily form as a dove, and a voice came from heaven, Thou art my beloved Son, with thee I am well pleased.
Okay, Yeshua was about 30 years old when he began his public ministry and was supposed to... Okay.
Right, and then it goes into the genealogies.
Gotcha.
Okay. So you have a confusion of the text, because this is not the way it's portrayed in Matthew.
So do you think that maybe one of them did plagiarize or tried to and just left out or copied the wrong details or something?
No, I think that Luke is responding to something in his day, and so he writes the story about the baptism of Jesus differently.
Okay.
Okay. There are theories that John the Baptist, as a leader of the people, was a competitor to Jesus.
Yeah. I have seen that, and I actually see that in the text too, actually. It's kind of weird.
Oh, yes. So if a person baptizes someone else, who is the more important person?
Right.
The one doing the baptizing or the one being baptized? Mm-hmm. One could easily argue it's the one doing the baptizing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a minister takes precedence over the congregant who is being baptized. And the followers of Jesus would never have wanted The followers of Jesus would never have wanted to have anything appear that John the Baptist was higher than or overseeing or whatever Jesus. So they're not going to want to have a story where John the Baptist was baptizing Jesus. In other Gospels, you have a discussion take place between John the Baptist and Jesus, where John the Baptist says to Jesus, wait a minute, you should be doing this to me, not me doing this to you. And Jesus says something to the effect of, well, it's okay because this will be a model for everybody else. Words to that effect. William, back me up here. Do you know where that is? Do you know what I'm referring to?
Paraphrase it for me again.
That John the Baptist says to Jesus, right before the baptizing, you're the one who should be doing this to me.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And Jesus says, well, let it stand this way because it'll serve as a model to everybody who comes after us. Which means it's a dialogue that was invented to show that John the Baptist was in fact saying, Jesus, you are higher than I am. You're more important than me.
Yeah, try Matthew 3:14, see if that's it.
Yes, I thought that would be Matthew. Because Matthew being the earlier than Luke, Luke is not going to want that to stand. He's going to want to make start over. He's going to want to make Jesus the superior to John the Baptist. So he's not even going to have John the Baptist anywhere near there while Jesus is being baptized. You have to understand that the gospel stories is not history.
Right.
They were written as a response to history. They were written as a response to issues and questions that came up in their day, and so they're inventing a story about Jesus to satisfy the problem. Right. So the theology of Luke is that John the Baptist isn't even around at the baptism of Jesus. John the Baptist was going to be in prison, so that there's no issue that Jesus was superior to John the Baptist. Matthew, being earlier, is going to put in a dialogue, because probably in his day there was a much more careful, much more direct competition between the two. In other words, equal sides, and the Christians, the followers of Jesus hadn't, incorporated into their group the followers of John the Baptist. So Matthew was going to say something to the effect of, I'm going to write dialogue to show that Jesus was superior to John the Baptist, but he's going to allow John the Baptist to do the baptizing as a model for everybody later on.
So it's on the screen now. It says, Then came Jesus from Galilee to Jordan unto John to be baptized by John. But John forbid him, saying, I have need to be baptized of you.
What? And you come to me?
You come to me?
Right.
And Jesus answered and said, suffer it to be so now, for thus, so it can fulfill all righteousness. Then,
right.
Yeah, so it's kind of like
and remember, suffer means to allow.
Gotcha.
And Jesus answering said unto him, allow it to be so now, for thus it becomes us to fulfill all righteousness, and he allowed him. So it's a different approach to the problem of John the Baptist being a competitor to Jesus. Matthew invents his story in a way that has Jesus say, yes, let it be this way because it'll be a good model, or whatever it is we just read. Whereas Luke's response to the question of who's superior between Jesus and John the Baptist, he's going to write his story as John the Baptist wasn't even there at the baptism. It's not even an issue. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to just for grins.
Jacob, I hope that answered your question.
Move on to chapter 4. This is kind of interesting. It says, after this all happened, it says, then the Spirit led Yeshua up into the wilderness to be tempted by the adversary. Talk about that a little bit.
Okay, wait a minute. Jesus.
The tempter, the Satan, devil, Lucifer, right?
Except if the devil, according to Christian theology, was an angel in heaven who fell from heaven. There's a whole Canaanite influence there, but that's not our issue now. Don't you think...
Hey, Rabbi, pause. I'm sorry. I totally got distracted. We have a very patient person waiting on the phone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was my fault, and you'll have to please forgive me. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from, and why you held on so long.
Oh, hey. How are y'all doing?
I'm sorry.
Thank God. How are you?
I'm a TORAH Talk greeting.
Oh, that's so cool. What is your name?
This is Jason from Virginia.
Oh, hey, Jason. Thanks for calling in, man. I'm so sorry for leaving you on. I just completely forgot it was there. I looked over, and I was like, uh-oh.
Well, you're fine. I was listening. I was enjoying the show. It doesn't bother me any. I get right up in the speaker. I get to hear everything that's going on.
Oh, cool. And so, Rabbi, we'll get back on Matthew 4 in just a minute. Okay, go ahead, Jason.
I had to call and ask. I know this is a little off topic, but I I needed to ask Mr. Federow, since he's on the phone now. I am converting to conservative Judaism.
Okay.
And me and my wife both are in the process of doing that. And I was just curious because we go to synagogue every week, and they've since have to find a new rabbi and everything, but that's beyond the question. What I was wondering is, why do they pass, when they take out the Torah and they pass the Torah around, why do people take their little Bibles and they kiss it and then they kiss the Torah?
Okay.
I was just curious.
First,
it's something that's been...
I will tell you that the initial answer is because you don't want to get slobber all over the Torah scroll.
Well, yeah, I knew that. Yeah, I knew that.
No, I was just basically
joke.
kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not, how would you word this? We're not worshiping the Torah scroll. We are showing our veneration for the one who gave us the Torah. Because the Torah scroll is the, what's the word? The epitome. No, that's not the right word. It's like the symbol of God's gift to the Jewish people. Okay, right. God gave the Torah to the Jews through Moses at Sinai. So it is an object worthy of respect because it came from God. And so
like admiration, I guess.
Exactly. And we express the admiration by kissing it, but it's not a slobbery kiss with the lips directly on the Torah scroll.
Symbolic.
Usually, it is a kiss where you either touch the Siddur, the prayer book, to the Torah, and then you touch the Siddur to the Torah scroll, and then touch the Siddur to your lips, or you reverse that process. You kiss the Siddur and then touch the Siddur to the Torah scroll.
You know, we do the same thing with the mezuzah, right? As we come into our house, just because
right, but that's different.
But it's the same reverence because there is.
No, but it's not reverence. You are not revering the mezuzah. You are acknowledging its existence. You are by kissing it. You are doing a physical act that shows that it is reminding you of your spiritual relationship with God, who commanded it to be there.
That's what I mean by reverence and by.
Okay.
Oh, well, that makes me feel so much better. You answered my question wonderfully. I really appreciate that. That's
well, any way it can help.
I just happened to check. And notice that y'all were live, and I have got to call right now.
I'm glad you did.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate you.
Thanks a lot. Y'all have a good evening.
Okay,
Thank
you too. Shalom. Okay, back to
William,
yes.
Before we get there, but William, it's you're not revering.
No, it's more symbolic, right?
Well, it's functional.
But it's still symbolic. Because you're kissing it.
Symbolic.
I think, for me, it has always been symbolic because when I touch my lips and I kiss the mezuzah, in my mind, what's going on is I'm showing Hashem my respect for His word, because even inside the mezuzah scroll, you've got the little scroll that's actually got His word on it.
Right, and that's true, but the reason is because you are doing a physical act to remind you of the spiritual relationship, which is, what's the function?
Mm-hmm.
To keep the commandments.
Right.
In order that you remember and keep my commandments and be holy to your God.
Gotcha.
So the act of touching the mezuzah is a way to say, yes, I am remembering to keep the commandments.
Symbolic.
Because it's not symbolic, it's actual.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha. I apparently don't know what symbolic means.
Or maybe I don't.
That's funny. That's funny.
But you are acknowledging
right
that commandments have been given by God to the Jews through Moses at Mount Sinai, which includes the commandment of putting up the mezuzah on the doorposts. Okay, and you are acknowledging that you are being reminded to keep the commandments. You're not venerating the mezuzah. It is a functional item to remind you to keep the commandments.
Right.
That's how I look at it.
That's cool. Okay.
Human beings need their physical reminders. That's why we have the tzitzit, like a string wrapped around the finger, except it's around the body, because it's a physical reminder of a spiritual relationship with God who commanded it.
Right. Okay, let's revisit again the and we'll make this our final.
The devil made me do it. That's before your time. Actually, you're such a young kid.
Hey, that's okay. I don't want to be.
What was his name? The comedian? I can't think of his name.
I have no idea. Michael.
Anyway, see, I told you it was before your time. All right. Well, at any rate, what I was about to say is that if supposedly, according to Christian theology, Christian belief system, that the devil was in heaven and was kicked out of heaven, that the devil would have had a pretty intimate knowledge of who God was. And he would know that God can't be tempted. Okay. And yet, according to this passage that we're reading in Luke 4, that the devil is trying to tempt Jesus. This means that the devil did not recognize Jesus as being God. Or else why would he try to tempt him?
Yeah,
and look at what he says.
That's a really, really awesome point, yeah.
Look at let me try to focus my eyes, my old man eyes. Okay. Let's see. If you are the Son of God, command this stone to become bread. And Jesus answered him, it's written, man shall not live by bread alone. That's called dodging the subject. And the devil took him up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time, and said to him, to you I will give all this authority and their glory, for it has been delivered to me, and I give it to whom I will. If you then will worship me, it shall all be yours. Wait a minute. I thought the earth was the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and they that dwell therein. So the world belongs to God. If Jesus were God, he'd already own it.
Right.
So when the devil is saying, I'll give you all these kingdoms, he's saying, Jesus, I know you're not God, because God would already be the king over all these kingdoms, the king of kings over all these kingdoms.
Right.
So again, the text tells us that the devil did not recognize the divine nature of Jesus, or why would he tempt him?
Interesting. That's kind of like trying to sell the Trump Tower to Trump. He already owns it.
Exactly. If he had recognized him, if the devil had recognized Jesus as being divine, as being God, as being a person in the three-person whatever Trinity, then what sense would it make to offer him something he already owned?
Right. Very true.
So I kind of think that I think when the author of the Gospels wrote what they wrote, they weren't thinking. They were just trying to show the supposed brilliant, look how brilliant Jesus was, because you know, man does not live by bread alone. Ooh, what a great answer to turn this to bread.
Right. It's a good point that you bring up too, that they weren't really careful what they wrote, because it's through the King James version of the Bible, and my studying of the Tanakh, the Hebrew Scriptures, the old quote unquote Old Testament, in the King James version, just studying that translation, studying it over and over and over and over and over again, while I'm not doing anything with the New Testament, putting the New Testament aside and just focus and studying on the entire Tanakh, from the entire Old Testament.
Right. Through
that process, that's what led me out of the New Testament belief. I think the issue that most people have is they read their Bible, they don't study it,
Right.
And so that's why a lot of people will never leave, because they don't study. They just read, and they read what seems to be in context for what their pastor's teaching them, and so they're never going to see it. They'll never have their eyes opened at all. So unless they really decide to start studying, it's unfortunate.
I find that is very unfortunate. By the way, thank you, Cram 3360. It was Flip Wilson who did the stand-up routine of
Flip Wilson.
The devil made me do it. The devil, it was the devil made me do it. So thank you, Cram 3360. By the way, Leaving Christianity and Finding the Truth in Torah Judaism has a question mark about Rowan Atkinson, and there's a fabulously funny YouTube of a Rowan Atkinson routine where he's welcoming people to hell, and Rowan Atkinson is the devil.
Is that the bean guy? Oh,
yes,
I've seen that. That is so amazingly funny.
And all of you are going to be over here.
Yeah.
Notice there aren't Jews, because They were right.
Yeah, he goes, I'm sorry, all you Christians, the Jews were right.
Yep. Very funny.
That was great. Yeah, if you want to get a good laugh, just search bean hell. Because that's how I found it. I just typed in bean and then a space and hell, whatever, and it actually pulled up the it's really, you got to watch it. It's quite funny. So, wow.
Off Grid with Doug and Stacy. Symbolism or symbolic, adjective, illustrative, emblematic, metaphorical, allegorical, parabolic, elusive, suggestive, involving the use of symbols and symbolism. So thank you for the definition. and that just shows I was right, nanny.
Wow. Rabbi, love you, man.
I love you too. I so missed this. You have no idea.
Yeah. It's been a long wait. So it's good to see you again. Good to see all the viewers out there. Thank you again for tuning in and keeping the chat boxes live. We count on that. Call in each time too. So we'll see everybody next week. And if you're interested, Wednesday night, of course, is Controversial Issues with Rabbi Chaim Coffman. Oh, Rabbi, I just had a really cool idea too. I'm going to start doing this too. I'm going to start on Tuesday nights. It's always been set aside on Tanakh Talk to do Tuesday nights for Testimony Tuesdays. Got this whole TTT thing going on, right? TNT, and Testimony Tuesdays, right? Yes. Rabbi Stuart Federow. I actually had this really interesting idea, and thanks to Kelsey, actually, that kind of gave me the idea. I think I'm going to start doing a Tuesday night show with call-in random open phone lines, call-in quick testimonies. We'll probably take 3 or 4 calls per night and just let people... I
think that's brilliant.
And instead of having 1 hour where you're listening to one long story, rather have an opportunity for an hour to hear 4 or 5 people's stories, and you get just a lot more higher volume and you get a lot more testimonies to be flowed through and experiences.
William, do you know why I think that is so important? It's because there's so many people out there who think they're alone in this.
Yes, indeed.
And when they hear the testimonies of other people who have abandoned their Christian idolatry, okay, and they're searching and they may even consider coming to Judaism, that they're not alone because they hear other people's stories. I think that is incredibly a good idea, an incredibly important idea.
That's great. I think we're going to have to move forward with that. Thank you, Rabbi.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And thank you again, all the viewers out there. Love you guys. You guys are all just amazing. Until next time, Shavua Tov, everyone. See you, Rabbi. Shalom, shalom.
Chaim.